Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It is Thursday, April 2nd. I'm Andrew Gagan. The local market is set to build on the previous session's gains with ASX futures up around 0.1%. Global stocks have rallied while oil prices have fallen on hopes of an end to the war in the Middle East. Wall Street's major indices continue to erase recent losses ahead of a scheduled address to the nation by President Trump later today. The SIBO Volatility Index slipping to its lowest level in more than a week. Technology-related heavyweights rallied, including Alphabet, Meta and Amazon. Memory chip makers Western Digital and Seagate rose on broker upgrades, while SanDisk and Micron Technology also advanced. Intel surged after it said it would buy back Apollo's stake in its Island factory for more than $14 billion. SpaceX has reportedly filed for an IPO, sending space stocks higher. Eli Lilly rose after the US Food and Drug Administration approved its weight loss pill. Nike slumped to its lowest in a decade after the sportswear giant forecast a surprise drop in fourth quarter sales. And US listed shares of BHP and Rio Tinto rose, tracking higher copper prices. Well, the United States will end its war on Iran soon and could return for spot hits if needed, President Trump has said, ahead of his scheduled prime-time address to the nation. He said that Iran had offered the US a ceasefire, a claim the Iranian regime has called false and baseless. Well, President Trump has also flagged that he was considering withdrawing the US from the NATO alliance over what he sees as its failure to support the US in the war. The International Monetary Fund, World Bank and International Energy Agency have warned that the war was having substantial global and highly asymmetric effects and said they could coordinate their response, including through potential financial support to those countries hit hardest. Meanwhile, in the US, retail sales increased 0.6% in February, the most in 7 months, as motor vehicle sales rebounded, but surging fuel prices because of the war in the Middle East are expected to crimp spending in the months ahead. US Treasury yields have risen as data pointed to continued resilience in the US economy, bolstering expectations the Federal Reserve will hold interest rates steady this year and not cut them. The 2-year yield was at 3.8%, having climbed 43 basis points in March. The 10-year rose to 4.32%. Australian 3-year government bond yields rose to 4.65%. The 10-year was at 4.98%. The US dollar index is down almost 0.5% on the day. The Aussie is currently at 69.3 US cents. Oil prices have settled lower on expectations that President Trump will announce a timeline for an end to the war. This comes as US gasoline prices rose above $4 a gallon for the first time in more than 3 years. The Brent contract for June fell almost 3% to $101 a barrel. Gold has risen for a fourth straight session as the US dollar slipped and other risk assets rallied. Spot gold up around 2%, currently around $4,760 an ounce. Copper is little changed. Iron ore up slightly to $111 a tonne, and Bitcoin remains at around $68,000. Well, ahead today, President Trump is set to make his national address at midday Australian Eastern Time. On the data front, February's trade balance is released along with job vacancies. That is your day ahead. Enjoy your Easter break. We'll see you on the other side.